Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome back to the channel. Great to have you here. How you doing today? Well, have you been spending a lot of time listening to the George Harrison All Things Must Pass 50th anniversary? Wow, I am absolutely blown away. For those of you that are listening to it or in the process of listening to it, I've had a lot of viewers on my channel say, "Hey Beetle Brad, would you do a review of what you think? I like it." Okay, thanks for watching. See ya. Oh, no. Okay. All right, a little bit longer than that. Just having fun with you. See if you're awake and listening. Are you? I hope so. I know, what a silly, crazy way to start a video. I'm just having fun with you. But, you know, a lot of people have got a lot of opinions on the making of this brand new album that was mixed and redone by Paul Hicks. So, you know, we're on one hand, we got Paul Hicks and, you know, the greatness of this brand new box set. And then we got Phil Spector. So, okay, we're going to weigh in both of those. We're going to talk about the vinyl. We're going to talk about the CD. So sit back, have a drink, preferably Coke or Sprite or something like that, or Gatorade. And some popcorn, because it's going to be fun, because we're going to do a review on which one do I think is the best in this series of the CD or versus the vinyl. Stay tuned for that, because I think you'll be absolutely amazed at what Beetle Brad has to say about this and which one I think is the best. So what do you say we jump right into this and get started? So as you can see with my videos, I bought the CD box set, which is the CDs, and the one DVD Blu-ray. So we got that, which is the 5 CDs and all that, and the Blu-ray and all that kind of stuff, with the remix and then the vinyl. And for those of you who haven't seen my past videos of talking about All Things Must Pass, make sure you go back and kind of check those out, because, you know, you're kind of out of sync and you're not really kind of following what's going on. But for those of you who didn't see it, I got the splatter, which it's funny. A lot of people are showing the splatter, and a lot of people have got the splatter, which makes me comically think in my own head, maybe the black vinyl is worth more, because everybody got the splatter. Just unreal. So, okay, let's pick on the CD first. So the CD is incredibly well packaged. You know, you've got all these, it's kind of crazy setup. You know, you've got all these tracks, and there's a lot on here. And the thing that a lot of us were waiting for, and a lot of us were anticipating on hearing, was Paul's remix of this album. So he stripped away all the Phil Spector stuff, and you basically got a new version of an old album, if I could say that. I guess, I don't know, trying to put this together as I do it. So by listening to this Paul Hicks, it's interesting in the aspect, and every single one of you that are watching, and every single person that has this on vinyl or CD, your stereo system will vary from my stereo system. So from what I'm hearing in my ears with my stereo system can be completely different than what you're hearing in your stereo. So your stereo might be a little bit different sounding. You may have a better stereo than I've got, or you may have a simpler, more economical stereo. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. You know, we all can afford what we can afford, and you all don't need to be spending more money on something than you necessarily need just because somebody's trying to sell you something on YouTube or trying to plug a better unit. You know, just buy what you can afford and enjoy what you've got. Don't try to outdo or try to outbe somebody that you're not, and just have fun and enjoy the vinyl, enjoy the CD. So I know I'm going into a long sequence into the CD, but the CD for me, the remix of this was absolutely stunning. Yes, they brought up George's vocals on the album. We're just going to start on the album itself. The songs were fantastic. The vocals of George were brought up. The vocals and also the instruments were brought up. They were a lot crisper. I've got the original. I've got several different variations of All Things Must Pass. If you saw my video a couple videos back, I do have the original and a couple other variations. But anyway, So many of us are used to hearing, we grew up with this album, a lot of us, or we're relatively new to this album. But if this was our only go-to album, I think a lot more people will be pleased with it. I think the more you listen to this album, the better it is. Because like I said, George's vocals are brought up and the instruments are brought up a lot more. It's a little crisper, it's a little sharper. Yeah, there's some muddy spots in some of it. I listened to the original and I listened to the remaster of this first off, doing it that way with the headphones. And I think it's tremendous. I think it's absolutely, I think George would be really, really pleased with it. Like songs like Wah Wah, was fantastic. And golly, it's just so many, I'm drawing a blank, What is Life and all this kind of stuff. And My Sweet Lord and all those, you hear different instruments that you didn't hear. So even though this is an old recording and an old one brought back new, it sounds really, really good. And I think for those like Paul Hicks, yeah, he's done a video and he's talked about the Harrisons and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to get into that because a lot of that is, in my opinion, just sensationalism to, one, not only sell the album, but two, just to draw attention to him and Paul Hicks and his mixing and all that kind of stuff. And he may have an axe to grind against the Harrisons about something that we have no idea about. And that's between him and the Harrisons. And really at this point, who could care less, I mean, I'm in it for the music. I'm in for it to listen to it and to enjoy it and listen to the CDs and listen to the vinyl and watch the Blu-ray. I really don't want to get into the politics of, well, this is better and Phil Spector did this. And, during Let It Be, when Phil Spector was around and doing all of that, the joke was back in that day was produced by the Beatles, overproduced by Phil Spector. So that was the joke back then. And, Phil Spector had a tendency to throw everything but the kitchen sink into everything he did. Yeah, he was big into production. In lots of ways, Phil Spector was ahead of himself in time of producing and mixing and all that kind of stuff. So in lots of ways, Phil Spector does have a platform, I feel like, that he is still good and he is still doing a quality, good job that we've got of his past stuff that has been released, previous stuff. I'm not talking about today's stuff, he's passed away. But, there's Paul Hicks, we're back to this again. I think Paul has done a good job. I really don't hear a lot of the muddiness that people are talking about. I think the instruments were brought out beautifully. And George's vocals on the CDs themselves for the album itself, for the album and the second album, and then the third one for the Strawberry Jam. I'll get into that in a second. I think that was great. It sounds clean, and I really can start to understand some of the words that George was saying in some of the songs that I couldn't hear in the previous albums that I've got. So it made me think, well, yeah, this maybe is sounding a little bit better, and maybe this is sounding a little bit sharper. I think a lot of people need to go into this listening to it, starting over with it. Yes, it's not going to be the exact same album. Yes, it's not going to be something that's just going to blow you away and you're going to throw out every copy you've got, or even if you have one copy on CD. I mean, it's not anything. I think both of them kind of equally pair each other together. I think they're both equally good to keep. I don't think you need to throw anything out. I don't think you need to get rid of them. Let me jump to the vinyl and talk about that. The vinyl had a lot more bass in it. I noticed some more bass into that, but you can always change the levels on your own stereo, hopefully. But the vinyl sounds great, and a lot of people are saying, well, I won't buy colored vinyl because colored vinyl is a lousy pressing and colored vinyl has no quality whatsoever. Well, yes, you're absolutely right. Back in the late 70s and 80s, when colored vinyl was just coming in, and I was collecting colored vinyl back then, and it sounded horrible. You bought picture discs and colored vinyl and stuff like that, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It sounded horrible, but they've now pressed it to where the colored vinyl is in between the two vinyl you know, when they press the records this way and then the colored vinyl goes and then the next layer. So when you get the record, it sounds 180 gram perfect. And this being the 50th anniversary of this album, I think it's absolutely tremendous the way the vinyl does come across very, very beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. I got the 3 record set on the vinyl and the 5 on the CD, like I said. The 3 vinyl, which was the colored vinyl, sounds great. It's the album in its entirety. It's all 3 albums. And to be totally honest with you, can you keep a secret? Do you promise not to tell? Okay, shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody, but this is a secret between us that's watching this video, okay? The 3rd album, which is the George Harrison, the Apple Jam one, I never cared for that. It just never fit the album. You know, a lot of people, you know, this is just my opinion, so don't type down below what a bleep, bleep, bleep I am or whatever. I'll delete it. I don't care. This is just my opinion. I never cared for it. It never really seemed to make much sense. It never really seemed to go anywhere. The saxophone in the beginning of it was kind of nice. It was kind of cool to hear the saxophone, but then that disappeared. And a lot of that got taken away. And you know, as the album went on, the saxophone disappeared. I never really cared that much for that part of the album. I always thought it would have been a terrific 2-parter album. And even I've got interviews in video with George Harrison saying, I really think this is a great album, but at the time where I was in the part of my life, he said, I feel as if this album was maybe too long. He said, I probably should have done an All Things Must Pass 1 and 2. And that's what George said. Even he said that he thought this was a little long. You know, and even the Russian copy I showed you, the George Harrison, this is the one they released in Russia. It's only a 2-record set. The Apple Jam isn't even in that one. So it's kind of funny. The Russian copy they don't even put that in there. So by listening back, you know, I know I'm rambling and I've got a lot to say, but I'm trying to put thoughts together. I'm trying to do this off the cuff. I didn't write down any notes because I hate to sit there and look down and go, it was made at this studio. You know, it sounds boring, doesn't it? You know, it was remixed, Paul Hicks, yay. So that's why I'm doing a lot of it off the cuff. But back to Paul Hicks and the vinyl. The vinyl is just kind of a nice add-on to it. I didn't buy the Uber box set. I just couldn't afford it. I'd love to have it, yes, but I just couldn't afford it. That's fantastic. For those of you that got it, and there's several of you that did get it, you know, fantastic. I am really happy, and I hope you enjoy it. And I know you will enjoy it. It's a tremendous box set. And I watched a lot of unboxings of that Uber, but I just can't do it, you know, stuff like that. So that's great, you know, fantastic. But back to the vinyl. It's good. It's very smooth. The vinyl, I think, has a little bit deeper cut of the sound. It's a little, that's the word I'm trying to say, a little bit hazier maybe in some of the songs. Not all of them. Some songs sound better than other songs. Beware of Darkness, I think, is just beautiful. I mean, I can't get that out of my head. I mean, I've heard the song for years, but Beware of Darkness, I just can't get it out of my head of how fantastic of a song and production that is. I'm really appreciating this album a whole lot more than when I first bought it back in the, when did I buy my first copy? Maybe mid-70s, maybe late 70s, something like that. It was one of those, because, you know, back in the 70s, this was an expensive box set to buy, you know, and as a kid, as a busboy working through school and being a busboy and all that kind of stuff, you know, to buy this box set, which was a 3-record box set, that was an expensive venture to buy, and it was kind of hard to do. So I had to buy a used copy originally when I first bought it. So, you know, money was tight and different back then. Got a little better today. So, but the vinyl is, I keep driving this, keep talking about it, but the vinyl is very nice, and I think it depends what your stereo setup is. You know, you may have, you know, a JVC receiver, or you may have a Pioneer, or a Technics, or a Technica, or, you know, what kind of speakers you have. You know, you may not have that expensive a system, and that's perfectly fine. You may just have a CD player, And you may say, Beetle Brad, I couldn't get the vinyl because I could only get the CD. That's tremendous, because the CD, I think, in my opinion, I think the CD, this one, if you buy the single CD or you buy the box set CD, I think the CD is actually better copy, better quality than the vinyl. We're the vinyl community, and I've got every Beatle album, every solo Beatle album on CD and on vinyl. And I'm always leaning towards the vinyl and saying, you know, spend the extra money, try to find it if you can find a used copy of the vinyl. Yes, the vinyl is tremendous. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Hear me say this. The vinyl is tremendous. But for my ears and my stereo system, the CD is a little better. So when you're out shopping and you're roaming around, you may see it at the store and say, hey, Beatle Brad showed that. And I think the CD might be a better purchase than spending the money for the vinyl. And it's just my opinion on that, you know, of thinking and saying to you, buy the CD, you know, might be better sounding in your system. And if you buy the one that's the small pack, you know, the 2 CD one, you know, that they made, you know, just the single one, instead of all the outtakes are absolutely tremendous. You know, let me go back to that real quick before I go on to the single CD set, you know, which is the 2. The outtakes in this box set are fantastic. I mean, a lot of it is acoustic, and I think George could have done a tremendous job if they released this years ago. Remember a couple of years ago when everybody was doing acoustic versions? You know, you had Eric Clapton and Bob Dylan and Rod Stewart. Even Paul McCartney got in on it for, you know, Unplugged and all, you know, that whole series of Unplugged where all the different artists did their Unplugged series of just acoustic guitars, and they're sitting there playing and singing. A lot of the outtakes are just like that. And that would have fit in perfectly with that whole arrangement with doing that acoustically thing that happened a couple of years ago. I think they kind of missed, my opinion, I think they kind of missed the boat on that. They could have stepped it up a little bit and put it out back then. I mean, maybe then they didn't really have the technology to go ahead and put it out. I mean, a lot of these tracks, several of these tracks have already been released on bootleg. And it's nice to hear them crisper. It's nice to hear them cleaner. And the outtakes and the demos, George's voice is very crisp and very strong. It makes you forget, well, I don't know if I'd say forget, makes you remember, skip the word forget, makes you remember what a fantastic vocal genius artist, singer, songwriter, composer, musician, okay, I've run out of adjectives, George Harrison is. His vocal range on this was just tremendous, the way he sounds. And it made me kind of really appreciate this album, to where lots of albums I'll listen to them and then you end up filing them away. You know, you listen to it and you're like, okay, I've gone through that box set. It's got 16 CDs and you know, rearranged for Bob Dylan or whatever box set it is, and it's got, you know, 10 or 16 CDs, and you dread getting through it. You finally do, and you file it away for 2 years or 3 years before you listen to it again. I think with this box set, you're going to pull it out more, because it's going to be more enjoyable, because it's really crisp. And I got to the point where I got done listening to this, I was ready to start over, because there were songs sticking in my head, like Beware of Darkness, like I said. I can't get that song out of my head, and I'm listening to it in my head, and I go, I know this song so well, but it's just so crisp and so clean that I really, really, I dig it, man. I really do. So that's my opinion on what I thought about this George Harrison box set versus the vinyl and the CD. So, you know, I know I'm going to say, you know, tell me your comments of which one you think's better. And you're going to say, well, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And that's great. You know, I'm glad to have your opinion, glad to hear what you think down below. And, you know, I really want to do all that, tell you all of that. But also I want to show you, this is the vinyl one that just came out. A lot of you got that. So let me help you and show you an economical way to protect your vinyl on this, your box set. because you'll stick it on a shelf, and in between you're pulling stuff in and out. You may scratch the casing and all that kind of stuff. And as years go on, it'll start to scratch up, and it's just what happens. You know, you don't mean to do it, but things happen. But here in America, we have these bags, which are hefty bags. And this is a jumbo pack, and it's meaning size-wise. You can see that it's a big, big size. And this is what I use. Here it is here. This is what I use to put my big box sets, like the John Lennon box set that came out. And, you know, this George Harrison one and a couple Paul McCartney ones. This is what I put it in, these big jumbo ones. And you just take, you know, it zips across. I take the little plastic thing off so you can get more of it in there. And that fits in there just perfect in this. And I put it where, yeah, you know, this is for like freezer stuff. Yeah, okay, it's a little chintzy, you know, you can ride across here. But I always put it on the flat side, so, you know, the back side of it you don't see. You just see the clear plastic. But this is a heavy-duty bag, freezer bag. I don't put them in the freezer. Come on, come on, come on. But it's a good economical way of protecting your box sets by buying these oversized freezer bags. And you may say, oh, I live in the UK. I mean, I got a lot of viewers in the UK, and yeah, maybe you don't have these, but maybe look for a jumbo-sized box for your vinyl box set of All Things Must Pass. And it keeps it perfect. And it's a good, strong one to do, because I've tried to squeeze over you know, the album jackets that we get normally. I try to squeeze them in there, and you end up splitting them and all that kind of stuff. These fit perfect. So just an economical way to help you out, my viewer, to kind of give you an idea of how to protect your box sets. You know, you may have the Bob Dylan box set, or, you know, whoever you've got, you know, Leonard Skinner, or, you know, Police, or The Doors, or, you know, whatever box set. And it works really well for that. So this was a lot of fun to tell you about this box set of CD and the box set of this vinyl. It was great to kind of explain to you. And I know this video is a little long, but I got a lot to say. So, you know, have you done a demonstration yourself, you know, listening to either one of them? But if you don't have either one, for the money and for the deal of the box set, I would go for this. So in my final wrap up, yeah, I would definitely go for the CD. And also, stay tuned. I've got another different variation coming in. It might be a little bit of a Beetle Brad rant. Wonder what that could be. So you need to stay tuned and keep watching Beetle Brad, because it's coming up. Another variation of All Things Must Pass, but it might be a rant. Wow. Alrighty. Thank you so very much for being here. Stay tuned for more fantastic videos, because they are on their way. I got a lot more coming with Beatles and George Harrison and Paul and John and George Ringo, Pete Best, Stu Sutcliffe, and all the other fab guys. Alrighty, and as I say on my channel, I'm out of here.